Good morning. I'd like to welcome members of the public that are with us in the chambers this morning and those that are listening on Zoom for the Tuesday, 28th day of July 2020 Weber County Board of Commissioners meeting. I'm Commissioner Gage Frohr. To my right, Commissioner Jim Harvey. And to my left, Commissioner Scott Jenkins. We'll be starting today's meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance led by Ashton Wilson. Invocation will be Brian Benyon is with us. And then Thought of the Day, Commissioner Harvey, at which time we'll go to public comment. So let's start, Ashton.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Father in heaven, we thank thee for this beautiful world that we live in, for this great state of Utah, and for this great county. We're grateful for the opportunity today to participate in the governance of this county, and we're grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy that allow us to do so. We ask thee to please help each of us in our efforts to be more kind, to find opportunities to serve others, and to follow after the example of thy Son. We pray that will help us as a people as we fight against the coronavirus, and especially please be with those healthcare workers who are on the front lines taking the brunt of this. We pray for thy guidance in this meeting, that we may make wise decisions for the benefit of the people who live here in Weber County. And these things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Commissioner. You know, as a young boy growing up in Ogden, Utah in the 60s and 70s, I remember with my dad coming down Washington Boulevard and making a left on 24th Street, going up over the viaduct. And as soon as we got over the viaduct, we'd make our first left and would head straight south and would go into the entrance of the landfill. Most people who've been around for a while remember that landfill, and they had a separate place for tires, and they had a little shed there, and people would just drop things off. And I learned a lot. I think that's the first place I saw a big loader in my life, a big industrial loader that was crushing the stuff down. Well, the reason I bring that up is over that site, that was a decommissioned site through the years, and with Mr. Wilkinson's help and the operations, they were able to extract methane out of that. And there was a methane plant created clear at the far southwest corner of that landfill, and that helped generate energy and help pay for quite a few things. But over the years, and it's been getting close to 20 years now since that took place, we don't get a lot off of that anymore. But there was always kind of a valley going down before the what's that business out there? What's the business out there with the big granaries out there, the silos out there? Pillsbury, thank you. So just before Pillsbury, coming back this way, there's a big valley out there. And over the last 3 years, our Culture, Parks, and Recreation Department, under the direction of Todd Ferrario, started improving that property. And they put together a shooting committee with Jennifer Graham of some volunteers from around the community, and started getting a little money. And they built some metal stands with targets in them for archers. And they ended up putting stairs in it and shooting places. We'd get some expired asphalt off of roads that were decommissioned, and we made pathways that are beautiful and level, and we put a place for targets to be shot at different elevations and different lengths all through that valley. Well, thanks to the help of the shooting committee, and especially Senator Greg Buxton, we were able to secure some other funds that they take a little bit of money off the when you get a hunting license to be reinvested back into things, capital things for hunters. And so we used some money there, and with the ramp committee, the Recreation Arts Museum and Parks, we got a little money there. And opening this coming Saturday at 10 a.m., we're opening an indoor archery facility. And it's quite sizable. 20,000, Todd? 25,000 square feet indoor, plus more archery targets. All built with this money that comes from the little bit extra off of hunting licenses and ramp funds. No Weber County funds have been used in this project. We've got a little time in there, but we've had some great donations from people like Granite Construction and some other corporate sponsors that'll be announced and mentioned this weekend. But Mike, I just wanted to tell the group here how I'm so grateful to live in a county that's forward thinking. They take an old landfill and now they're making an all access, all ability. If you know archery, you can be any age, any size, any ability, and be able to get out and exercise. And you'll be able to do it now outside or inside all year round. And we've turned it into a real gem with virtually no cost to the taxpayers of Weber County. There's a professional organization, a retail outlet that'll be even a store inside there. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's off of F like Frank Avenue. We invite you to come out Saturday at 10 a.m. and see what Weber County has built for the citizens of Weber County by just being innovative. Special thanks, Todd, to you and Mike Luna out there, and to you, commissioners, having the foresight to be able to support such a project. I know Commissioner Ford, but you especially, Commissioner Jenkins, because of your background and knowledge, we've used you as a resource, especially as it relates to making sure that we can have bathroom facilities down there and making sure we get water. We also want to thank Ogden City for working with us on this, because it is right within Ogden City's, right within the city here, but we're just over a mile away from where we're sitting right now, just right over the train tracks on the other side. We're still within the city. This wonderful resource, again, to add to the quality of life of Weber County. And we're really excited. It complements our existing shooting project, which is out in the Weber Industrial Park, very well. And we've got things that people really like. A lot of excitement out there. So we invite you this Saturday at 10 a.m. And Mr. Chair, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Great thoughts, and we're all looking forward to that grand opening. I'm excited to get out there and see the finished product, which I haven't seen yet, so it's going to be great.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
he talks about when he was a little boy going over that viaduct. When I went over that viaduct as a little boy, there was a right turn at the end that used to go down to that lower road. It was a metal viaduct back then. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
He's not quite as old as you and I, Commissioner Ford.
Let's not make that too public, though. Yeah, no, I remember that, and took us right down to the old stockyards,
That's right.
which probably before your time.
No?
That was the first, I don't know if the first, but as I recall, original Weber County ice rink.
That's right.
I remember that.
Remember that?
Skated there, yeah.
Great memories from the stockyard, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that thought. And we are looking forward to that grand opening Saturday.
This Saturday at 10 a.m.
Perfect. Okay, with that, let's go to public comments. If anybody from the public would like to come up and address us, now's the time. For those that are here for the public hearing, you'll have an opportunity to speak during the public hearing, just so you're aware of that. Commissioner Harvey, was there anything through Zoom that were comments that you saw?
I'm actually trying to get some stuff from Shelley right now, but I don't see none on Zoom, she said, so
see
we're
it.
good.
Okay, so seeing nobody rushing the mic, let's go to consent items F in our agenda. and will include the following 7 items. Number 1, request for approval of warrants 2920 through 2944 and 451-009 through 451-216 and the amount of $3,493,544.61. 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $159,851.07. 3, request for approval of the minutes for the meeting held on July 21, 2020. 4, request for approval of new business licenses. 5, request to declare parcel numbers 192512 and 192557 as surplus real property. 6, request for approval of a $25,730 donation of Prop 1 funds to the Trails Foundation of Northern Utah for maintenance of trails in North Fork Park. And 7, request for approval of the First Amendment to the tower lease agreement with Verizon. That's Verizon Wireless. With that, commissioners' comments, questions? Before we go to Ricky for explanation. Ricky, you want to enlighten us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had 16 purchase orders that we issued this week for $160,000. Just over half of that amount, $88,000, is for the health department, and that was almost exclusively to purchase flu vaccines. 17% or $28,000 is for the animal shelter to replace a boiler. 8% or $13,000 is for the jail, and that will purchase gloves and inmate clothing and toiletries. And then 7% or $11,000 is for the conference center, and that will purchase camcorders for live streaming. For checks, we issued 235 checks this week for $3.5 million. Just under a third of that amount, or $1.1 million, is WACOG or transportation tax dollars that went to 12th Street construction. 22% or $763,000 is medical insurance for employees and retirees. 9% or $318,000 went to the jail for our nursing services. 6% or $200,000 is our paramedic services, and another 6% or $193,000 is the monthly contribution to WEBER Human Services. And then 5% or $168,000 went to replace vehicles for the sheriff's office and the attorney's office.
Great, thank you. Comments or additional questions?
Well, the comments I have, the $1 million was for West 12th, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and I called and talked to our folks, to Bryce Taylor, about this boiler replacement, and he was going to call and get another bid, but the amount will be close anyway. So yeah.
And we determined that was for the animal shelter?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, that was my understanding as well. Additional comments or questions? I just make a note on the $25,730 Prop 1 funds for maintenance of North Fork Park. This is a great use of Prop 1 funds. I had a conversation with Todd earlier today on North Fork Park and maintenance, and especially in today's world, to maintain these trails is, in my opinion, very critical, the number of people using them. So I'm excited to see that we are taking advantage of those funds and putting those in the right spot. So with that, commissioners, I entertain a motion.
Well, I've got one more shout out, if I can. I also, with regards to the animal shelter, if you'll remember, Ivory Homes stepped in last year and donated several nice trees, locust trees, honey locust trees, to set on that south side of the shelter. And now they're taking root and maturing and helping to shade that part. So I know it's helping with the temperature for the animals out there. So I just want to remember that and give them a thank you again for doing that. That just helps us out there. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent items as presented, or items F today, items 1 through and including 7 as on our agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion
Second.
and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Consent items are approved. Thank you. Let's go to action items G1, request for approval of an amendment contract by and between Weber County and Gage Crowther to provide legal services to indigent defendants and take the responsibility of drug court. Mr. Barron.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
If it's all right with you, I'd like to take, I'm presenting on the next 4 items, and I think it makes more sense if I present them out of order from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1.
So you're going to go in backwards order?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with grant.
They've always been backwards in that department anyway, so this...
We can kind of understand that coming from the attorneys. So this would be request for approval of a grant agreement by and between Weber County and the Indigent Commission, providing Weber County with funding to increase and improve defense services to indigent defendants. Thank you. So we'll start with that.
Okay, thank you. So Commissioner Harvey and I have been working with the state to get additional funding for the indigent defense attorneys. And back in October, we got our first approval of grant funding to hire some specialty attorneys to help out with some difficult cases that we had. We reapplied in June, and we were approved. We didn't get as much money as we had hoped for because of the coronavirus cuts, but we did get $129,000. With that money, we were able to hire an administrative assistant to help out our indigent defense coordinator. We were able to get those specialty attorneys, more funding for them for the next year. And we were able to hire another attorney to help take our coordinating attorneys some of his cases so that he can focus more on administrative work. And so thanks to Commissioner Harvey and our indigent defense coordinator, we were able to bring in some money and hopefully improve things for indigent defendants going forward.
Good. So you were able to secure some money, just not the amount that we had hoped for.
Right. We got $129,000 total. We had asked for a little over $200,000 initially.
Yeah. Good. Thank you for that. Questions, commissioners?
Brian's way too kind. He did all the work. He and his team, Chris Crockett, the civil team. You guys are incredible. Thanks for how you represent us. And it's $129,000 more than we would have gotten.
Yep.
If we wouldn't have applied. So that's good for us.
Yeah,
Great.
as I recall, at one time we were looking at not receiving any funding possibility. Mm-hmm. Remember having that conversation. So, yeah, this is still a win for Weber County.
Yep. Great. Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve the indigent defense funding contract as an item number G4 as listed on the contract today by Mr. Barron.
Thank you for that.
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to now G3, if that's your preference.
Yes.
Request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Sean Smith for indigent defense attorney. Mr. Barron.
Thank you. And the reason this makes sense is because with that indigent defense funding, we are able to now hire Sean Smith, and he's the attorney who's going to be taking some of the cases from Mike Bowis, so that Mike can do more administrative work. We put this out to bid. We did interviews. We had great candidates. And Sean was one who really stood out. And so the committee that interviewed the candidates recommended him.
Great. Thank you. Questions, comment, or motion?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve contract by and between Weber County and Sean Smith for indigent defense.
Thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Let's go to action item G2, request for approval of an amended contract by and between Weber County and Francisco Roman for as an indigent defense attorney, another attorney under that contract, I'm assuming.
Yes. So this one's not related to the Indigent Defense Commission funding that we're getting from the state. Francisco has what we call a full contract where he handles 2 calendars over at the court, and he's got a booming immigration practice, and he said he's just too busy. He can't handle all the work, and so he wanted to give up one of his calendars. So we're amending his contract to take him down from a full contract to a half contract. So he'll only be handling 1 law and motion calendar.
Makes sense. Questions, commissioners? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve request number G2, contract between Weber County and Francisco Roman, and the change as described.
Thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll go to Action item G1, request for approval of an amended contract by and between Weber County and Gage Crowther to provide legal services to indigent defendants and take responsibility of drug court.
Okay, so Gage Crowther already had a half contract and he's been itching to get a full contract. So he's going to take Francisco Roman's calendar, so that will bump him up to a full contract. In addition, the court is looking at opening up another drug court. The current drug court has been full for a long time. It's a well-utilized program and it's a very successful program. So they're opening up another one and we need to staff that. And so we've asked Gage Crowther to cover that as well.
That'd be great. Okay. What judge do they then have in charge of that drug court? Do you know?
I don't remember off the top of my head which one Gage is going to be in front of.
Good. Well, thank you for that. Okay, commissioners, questions, comments, or action?
I'd make a motion that we approve item G1, the contract between Weber County and Gage Crowther as the full employed indigent defense attorney.
Great. We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Barron.
Thanks, commissioners.
So let's go to G5, request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing Commissioner Scott Jenkins to the Weber Morgan Local Homelessness Coordinating Council. Mr. Chris Crockett.
Thank you, Commissioners. With your permission, I'd like to ask Danielle Stevens, who is our Housing and Homeless System Sustainability Coordinator for the Center of Excellence, to assist in presenting this item. She's done a tremendous amount of work and can do a far better job than I can on this.
Okay, that'd be great. Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Can I remove my mask? Awesome.
Please do. We don't want you passing out on it.
I definitely don't want that either. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I've been in this position with the Center of Excellence for about 8 months now, and we work very closely with Commissioner Jenkins to facilitate our local homeless coordinating council. The Weber Morgan LHCC has been in effect for about 15 years and is comprised of various stakeholders and providers in homelessness in our community, people who are very passionate and dedicated to ending homelessness in Weber County. However, in the last several years, it has not been functioning at the level that it had in past years. And in 2019, the Weber Housing Authority commissioned a community assessment. And one of the recommendations that came out of that was to hire a systems coordinator to help facilitate the LHCC and bring it back up to that higher level of functioning. And in the past 8 months, we have done a lot with Commissioner Jenkins and with our community service providers. We've engaged in a housing and homeless funding and service gap analysis for the state. We established a governing board for the LHCC that is going to help us identify strategy for the community. We have worked very closely with the State Homeless Programs Office to determine how federal CARES money should be allocated in our county and to help providers receiving that funding establish greater capacity to be able to help community members. We have prioritized providers' applications for state homeless funding. We've identified emergency plans to help our homeless population in this pandemic and operate quarantine and isolation facilities. We work very closely with our county emergency planner to establish broader emergency plans for the homeless population. And we've also been able to facilitate a much higher level of engagement for our LHCC. We have engaged providers who never or seldom participated in the past, and much of that engagement has been obtained because of the participation we have from Commissioner Jenkins as chair of the LHCC. And as we move forward as a LHCC and as we continue taking on more responsibility that the State Homeless Programs Office asks us to take on, we will continue needing that higher level of engagement as a county and that continued political influence. And we're very grateful to Commissioner Jenkins for his participation and his dedication to ensuring that we end homelessness in Weber County. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay. Commissioner Jenkins, I'm assuming you're willing to take on this burden since you've already
I could say I've been
had
doing
this
it for years, and this is a little bit of housekeeping to make sure it's done right. So yeah, I'm fine with it.
And I would just second what our presenter said. Commissioner Jenkins has taken on this task and has done an excellent job, been very passionate in working with the homeless situation, affordable housing. And we have plenty to do here at the commission. And it's nice to see each of the commissioners kind of take on their own role and take a passionate view of making sure that takes place, which I feel very comfortable we've done this past 2 years. So, Commissioner, we appreciate that very much. I know the homeless group out there, the nonprofits, very much appreciate your efforts. So, Commissioner Harvey.
Well, you both, you've been very kind, Gage, but you spent a lot of time, you and your family, with the Lantern House. And I've absolutely loved watching Commissioner Jenkins. I don't want to say change, but he's really, I want people to know that he does this project not just because of assignment, but there's a genuine love for what he's doing here. He shared some very personal things with me with regards to some plans later on. And he really loves what he's doing because we can see positive effect in this segment of our county, which has never been done at especially the county level before, and especially to the magnitude county-wide that it's been done now. So he doesn't talk about the times that he's up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, frequently going out on counts and trying to find different things and just being aware. And so it's very encouraging. We're well represented. I appreciate you, Commissioner Jenkins, and you, Commissioner Frohr, for your work there. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm ready for a motion. And I believe this is a roll call.
Yes. Did you guys make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we
We need a motion first.
I'll make a motion that we approve the item number G5 as presented by Danielle via Christopher Crockett today.
Thank you. That would be appointing Commissioner Scott Jenkins to the Weber Morgan Local Homelessness Coordinating Council, and I'll second that.
Great.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
And Chair Frohr?
Aye, thank you. Congratulations, Commissioner.
Thank you.
And we know that we're going to continue to make great progress in this department in this endeavor because of your leadership. Okay, let's go to item 6, request for approval of an updated Weber County Corporation Weber County Sports Complex 2020 Ice Time Use Agreement and invoice. Mariko Rollins, welcome.
Hi, thanks commissioners for having me. This spring, we were able to work with Chris Crockett's office and update our annual lease agreement, which includes our user groups and one-time use party ice times. So I'm seeking approval for that.
Okay. Any questions, comments for Mariko?
Well, I've got a few.
Go ahead.
Mariko, there's been quite a few changes here, but not with this one. It's the next one that I'm really going to go with. So, Mr. Chair, at this time, and I want to compliment her. Why we're all been shut down with COVID, the ice skaters have still been able, especially those who are practicing, been able to use those sheets of ice. You might know that when we hit the summer months, it's not as popular, and she's taken those sheets down and done some significant maintenance on those. And I think you're just starting to make ice again now, aren't you?
Yes, as of yesterday, and they're hand painting today.
That's great. You know a little bit about this, Commissioner Frohr.
I've been up there a number of times, yeah. A lot of times at 12 o'clock at night and 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I don't have to do that anymore.
When you can have the ice time because it's so busy. So I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we approve this updated agreement and invoice structure that they've created up there between Weber County and this Sports Complex 2020.
Thank you. We have a motion?
Second.
And we have a second. Before we place that motion, so just give me a brief update on youth hockey. Are they have available time? I know that there were some issues with Golden Spike Youth Hockey, and I understand we took that over. And how's that going?
It's going very well. We've been working very closely with the state to keep everything consistent, great practice times for the little ones. We have great coaches in place. We have great parent participation in place. So we're really excited to move forward with it being our program.
Good. I was excited to see that happen because, especially for the youth of this county, that's a sport that is very much needed. We have the facility up there that, in my opinion, state of the art. When I first started ice skating with hockey years ago, other than the old Golden Spike, we traveled to Salt Lake and Bountiful. And to have this in our backyard is very fortunate. So thank you. We had a motion. We had a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, carries. Let's go to 7, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Ogden Mustangs hockey team for contracted ice time, game protocol, locker room, and business office lease agreement. Rico, back to you.
Awesome. So as soon as COVID hit, we had playoffs cancel, which was devastating. Then the current owner, the previous owners, the Millers, had mentioned they had an opportunity to move up to a very prestigious league. So we began looking for owners that would help Weber County and the ice sheet and area hockey players really have something to look forward to and grow into. We were able to find a local hockey family, Kim and Sean Wilmert, that have a great passion for hockey and are interested in staying in the area and not moving anytime soon. So we were able to structure that transition with them and update the lease agreement that suits our needs as well as theirs and allows us to maintain ownership of our facility and provide an excellent hockey game experience for area families while giving them the freedom they need to run their business.
Thank you. Okay, now to you, Commissioner Harvey. I know you had some questions.
No, just she covered some of that in your presentation. Thank you. I too want to thank very much Dave and Lori Miller for leaving Bakersfield, California, moving the team from Bakersfield, I guess 10, 11 years ago.
Yes.
Up to here and bringing professional hockey to Ogden, Utah. We have, in that league, we have some of the biggest crowds and the nicest facilities. And we're looking forward to working with the Wilmerts that are local folks and perpetuating hockey for our area. So thanks for what you've done, Marika. You're very well respected up there. You've done a wonderful job.
Thanks.
And I appreciate what you're doing here. So, Mr. Chair, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract by and between Weber County and the Ogden Mustangs hockey team for times and games and protocol and locker rooms and business offices and such. It's a standard contract that we've done. We're just
Perfect.
updating some information on it.
We have a motion.
Second.
Now we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mariko.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being with us. Excuse me. Let's go to action item G8. Request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the Utah Youth Rodeo Association to hold the Utah Youth Rodeo at the 2020 Weber County Unfair.
Unfair.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us this morning. So we're just looking for your approval for this contract. It's a youth group. They've come to the fair for years. Last year we moved them to Tuesday before the fair just because of space issues, but under the unfair circumstances, we've moved them back to Thursday just so we have kind of a main event happening each day of the fair. So we've moved it to Thursday this year. The majority of their regular rodeo season was canceled because of COVID, and so they're extremely relieved to be able to have their finals and host it during our fair. So if you guys have any questions about it.
Questions, commissioners?
You know, this is really unfair that this has happened, but
I second that.
I'm glad to see that we're dealing with it.
I'm glad you feel that way. Additional questions or comments?
No, but I'm really happy that you're still going with the Utah Youth. This is an organization that grew out of the ground, grew out of nothing. 25 years ago, started back in 1995 by a group of local volunteers who wanted to see their youth in our area do great things in the high school and college and professional circuits, which now we have the highest concentration of award-winning cowboys in the whole world right here in our area. So pretty excited about that. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the contract by between Weber County and the Utah Youth Rodeo Association for the Utah Youth Rodeo during the fair.
Thank you. We have a motion
And second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Votes aye, motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to 9, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Hannah Nicolai for a junior livestock judge at the 2020 Weber County Unfair again. Ms. Wilson.
I got this gal just a few weeks ago. I've had a judge lined up since January, and he let me know a couple weeks ago that because of quarantine reasons, he couldn't come. So I found this gal. She's got some experience. Our judge usually handles all species, so she's willing to do goats, lambs, hogs, and steers. So she's going to take care of all of that for us. It's an $800 agreement. And I take care of her rooms and then provide her a county vehicle to drive while she's here. So it's pretty straightforward. Our usual agreement from year to year with the junior livestock judge.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Commissioners?
Glad we're holding this program. This junior livestock's really important.
And that community is extremely grateful, and they've vocalized that to us, that we had the commissioner's support to move forward with that. So they're extremely grateful, and they would have been stuck with an expensive animal if we couldn't move forward with the auction. And we're doing it safely, and we've provided plans to the health department, and we're signage and hand sanitizer and social distancing. So I feel like we're prepared to do it in a safe way.
So local businesses supported the junior livestock sale last year. How much money did they put in the pockets of the Weber County youth last year?
Just under $600,000, I believe.
$600,000 in the pockets to local youth for college and things like that from local businesses, all because kids decide they want to learn how to work and work with animals. That's
Yes,
a great
sir.
program. I've got no hesitation on this contract at all, Commissioners.
Go ahead and make a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract by and between Weber County and Hannah Nicolai for the judge at the Weber County Livestock Show.
I'll second.
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. You have a contract, Ashton.
Thank you.
Let's go to 10, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the TSE Entertainment to have Tracy Bird as entertainment at the Weber County 2020 Unfair.
Yes, sir.
Back to the Unfair.
Yep. Tracy Bird will be performing at this year's fair. Duncan Olson, our general manager over at the Golden Spike, came up with the idea to have a truck bed concert. So it allows for social distancing and households to be separate for to provide a concert. This again was something we've been scrambling ever since July 1st when we got the approval to move forward with that budget. So we've worked with TSC. Duncan has been going back and forth with the gal there for a couple months trying to find somebody, and she really came through for us, especially under the timeline. So we're super excited about it. We've got premium parking and general admission parking. The sheriff's department's helping us get cars parked where they need to be. Chris Crockett was awesome, and he helped me get this pushed through quickly and reviewed it for me. So $32,000 is the agreement. And then if you guys have any questions about it.
Questions, commissioners? Ashton, let me just tell you, I'm very happy with what you, Duncan, Marty, Jennifer have put together as we had a number of discussions where we were going to go with this fair or unfair, whether to have it, whether not to have it. I think we've landed in a great spot personally. I'm excited. We're going to offer the community an opportunity to come out on 4 nights, I believe, with the junior livestock auction. I had more calls on that than probably just about as much as I've had on any issue, and very much encourage us to go ahead with that junior livestock. I participated in it as a bidder for the last number of years, and I tell you what, it's just a pleasure to see those kids with their animals, and the benefit that it does for this community, I think, is beyond recognition for these people. So it's great recognition.
Agreed.
So with that, commissioners, comments, questions?
I'd just like to echo what you said, Ashton. You've done a really good job, and I was kind of the fly in the ointment in here a little bit. And I really want you to know how happy I am where we've landed as a group. I think this is actually exactly where we should be right now. And I appreciate you two not being mad at me for it.
Never get mad.
That's right. But anyway, it's worked out really good, and I'm very happy with where we are as a county, and it's worked out good. And so I want to offer my appreciation to everybody involved here.
Thank you. We must have done something right. We even got a semi thumbs up from the Standard Examiner on the film.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it wasn't a full support, but it was at least it wasn't negative. So
Yeah.
Okay, commissioners.
Motion to approve the contract by and between Weber County and TSC Entertainment. You have Tracy Bird as Tracy Bird as entertainment at this year's Unfair.
Thank you. We have a motion.
And I absolutely unfairly support that and second it.
Thank you. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We have a contract with Mr. Tracy Bird. Look forward to seeing him at the fair. Let's go to action item 11, request for approval of a sponsorship agreement by and between Weber County and Baku presenter, Mr. Todd Ferrario. Baku.
So thank you, gentlemen.
I'm assuming this is for the archery.
It is for archery. So Baku originally came out as Backcountry. Obviously someone else's name, so it was changed. So Baku is a pedal assist electric hunting bikes. They're made right here in Ogden. They're on 2550. Great company, a leader in their industry. They met with us over the last month and want to be part of what's happening. A couple of reasons. First off, we will give them space to demo their product other than in a parking lot, because that's not where they're used. In totality, this is over $150,000 over 10 years. There's not only financial support for the archery range, they are bringing events, at least 3 events per year to the facility. So these are industry events. They will have different professionals in the industry doing camps, seminars, they'll be holding shoots, and they're tied to industry leaders in all facets of outdoors. They'll also be giving 2 bikes, which retail for $5,000 a piece, to be used as promotional items for events at the archery park. They also will be, along with their partners, giving us swag, as the contract says, which I think that's great that the lawyers left that in there. And those are things for our leagues, prizes. So whether it's shirts or products or things to give out to the participants in our leagues when they get fired up this fall as well. So I think a couple things. We're partnering with a local Weber County business, and their reach in the community is substantial. And they will be teaming up with us marketing. They've already blasted some things for our opening, and they will continue to do so. And they have a reach of 1 million+ people with their social media. It's something that obviously in at least Parks and Rec, we are not great at. And admittedly so, we don't have a marketing department that works just with us. We do get some assistance, but this is something they have full-time people that do every day. So this is great assistance to us. And my phone's been blowing up today because they know they're on the agenda. I don't know if you gentlemen have heard of Vortex, who makes scopes and binoculars and rangefinders. So they are sending us 12 rangefinders, and they're about $400 a piece for us to use as rentals to let the people that come and use our new facility use their rangefinders. So that will be revenue to us, and to put a banner up, which is great. Also, it looks like Mountain Ops, which is a partner of theirs, which is a company out of Kaysville, huge in the industry, will also be coming to us and meeting the next week to do some sponsorship and promote some events there as well. So it's a good community that has stepped up, along with all the donors that have helped with this great project and good support. So
Perfect. Sounds like a great win-win. Local business, great venue. Excited about it. Commissioners?
come on, Jim, let it go.
Todd's just, you're phenomenal, Todd. Thank you so much for what you've done out there. In part of that construction of that archery center, they secured a bulldozer from the federal government. Nice bulldozer.
Air Force, yeah.
Yeah, the Air Force. They paid $600 for that. It was an $80,000 machine, but at least it didn't go to somewhere else. And we got it, and they made tens and tens of thousands of dollars of improvements. Plus these sponsorships that you brought here today. This is a great job, wonderful job. This is a wonderful thing. And you're running it very well like a business, and I appreciate that.
Well, and to be quite honest with you, this was a team effort. I mean, not only our team, but from the attorney's office that I probably asked some pretty strange questions through this process. Stan, our lead inspector director, has been out there numerous times helping us through the process. We do have the MOU with Ogden City, so he's been handling a lot of that. Sean and his whole crew with Bryce and Tom and been out there, whether it's running power or helping me through some issues with water lines. And our health department, we have a full septic system that we put in, saved us a substantial amount of dollars. We're boots on the ground with us, making sure that, you know, what we had was the right thing for the conditions of the soil and what we were doing. So it's been help. I think Jason in purchasing probably will be happy when this is done, because you start with a building that has nothing and you furnish it. It is a lot of purchases and a lot of bids, and he's helped through the process greatly. So it wasn't just us.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to make a comment
Go ahead,
here, Mr. Chair. It's been really interesting to watch this come across. When I very first come to the county, you know, we had this money was secured before I got here, and it was just sitting there, and we were in jeopardy of losing it. And so anyway, we all kind of got together and rolled up our sleeves. And between Commissioner Ebert and Harvey and me, we figured out how to at least start this so we didn't lose that. It was $600,000 or $700,000. It was a substantial sum. And man, you guys have done a great job with this, Todd. I have to admit, I'm way impressed. I've been out there every week since it started. I've missed very few.
Oh, we have cameras. We know when you're there.
Yeah. It's been fun to walk around this and watch the individual creativity of people. You know, that when you do these kind of projects, you start with a plan, but there's so many things you don't cover. And when you look at the grounds that these people have worked on, and the parking lot and things like this that weren't in the structure, and how they've changed and dealt with all that. And I'm way impressed. This is going to be a grade A facility like nothing we've seen in the region. I personally think it's going to even compete a little bit with that Eastman building in Salt Lake. And that is quite a facility. And I'm telling you, we will be very unique. I mean, they're out in an industrial area and we're not. We're in kind of a secluded little spot down along the river there. And it's really good. You've created something very unusual and very unique and pretty exciting for the county, Todd. So thank you, and Marty and Jennifer and all the rest of you have worked on it, your whole department. It's been great. I'm excited. This is going to change the way people look at Weber County a little.
I agree. Okay, commissioners. Commissioner Harvey?
I appreciate Backout coming too. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great partnership. Honestly, when we met about it the first time, for them to step up that early in the process and have a vision is pretty remarkable. They have grown leaps and bounds in the last few years, and for both owners and their marketing guys to come out and take the time and look at that and jump in with both feet. And that's who's been texting me with more partners to come on board. That is a big feather in our cap. So we appreciate them as well.
All right, fantastic. Most commissioners?
Motion to approve the sponsorship agreement by and between Weber County and Backout.
Second.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It's approved. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, commissioners, let's go to our public hearing. I believe that was our last action item. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn our public meeting and convene as a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We're now in a public hearing. The public hearing we are in is to consider and take action on a request to amend the Weber County zoning map to rezone approximately 4.59 acres from RE15 to R112 at approximately 6224 South, 2225 East in Ogden. Mr. Ewert.
Commissioners, thank you for having me. Could we get the presentation on the laptop here pulled up on the monitors? Perfect. So what we have in front of you is a request to rezone property from RE15 to the R112 zone. It's about 4.59 acres or so. That's after the surveyors have looked at it. It's in the Uinta Highlands area. You can see the zoning map as it sits right now. Uinta Highlands is unincorporated area of Weber County. You can see South Ogden City off to the left-hand side and Uinta City to the south, and then everything else that's in color is within the unincorporated area. And you can see those different zones with the subject property there down near the lower center. With a zone change, you would see a zone map change basically like that. You've got a couple other pockets of similar types of zoning. You've got R110 here, you've got R2 here, and then R112 here. R112 essentially means 12,000 square foot minimum lot sizes. The R110 is 10,000. R2 actually has a little bit of different connotation. I think you can get as low as like 6,000 square feet or something like that in that zone. Whereas RE15 is 15,000 square foot minimums, and over here you can see RE20 is 20,000, and then up in the F40, that's actually 40 acre minimum lot sizes. So just for an indicator of what we're looking at, we do have a, excuse me, we do have a general plan that governs the area. As planners, when we're looking at what kind of changes should be coming forth in an area, we do look to the general plan. This general plan is pretty old. You can see from the date up here, it's 1970 to 1990 timeframe. But it does show the subject property in an area that is slated for low density residential, which you can get, low density is defined in that plan as properties with lot sizes between 3,000, between 8,000 square feet and I believe it was 15,000 or 12,000 square feet. But as we're looking at this, we are finding that the request to go to the R112 zone is in compliance with that plan. This is the subject property. As you're looking at it, it was previously owned by the LDS Church. It's actually part of a subdivision right now. It's a subdivided lot. I believe it was intended to have a church house there at one point in time, but for whatever reason, that church house hasn't come to fruition, and the LDS faith has sold it to more homes.
Charlie, I'm going to want you to go back to that map. This one right here, the one you were just on. In a while. So
okay.
Remember this
Got
one.
it.
Thanks.
Thank you. This is a conceptual subdivision layout that More Homes has provided for us. There's no obligation unless you require a development agreement for this layout to be what's final, but it gives you a good understanding of what the request is from the applicant. As you look at the differences between the RE15 zone and the R112 zone, the lot standards, you can see, I give you a scaled graphic there that kind of explains the difference between the two. If you're looking at the buildable area or the building envelope, so subtracting out the setbacks and all that, you're looking about a 2,000 square foot buildable area difference between the RE15 zone and the R112 zone. When you're looking at rezones, there are a whole host of items to consider. As a county commission, it's a legislative decision. You've got pretty wide discretion on decision making. As we looked at this with the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval, we look at compatibility with existing zoning, existing development in the area, compatibility with the general plan, and surrounding land uses when we do our review. So Western Weber Planning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation for the R112 zone without any additional considerations. When staff presented to Western Weber County, we did a full analysis of the area. We looked at traffic circulation. We looked at land uses. We looked at the potential of other properties to develop. We actually recommended they stick with the R110 zone, which failed, I think, a little under a year ago. But the Western Weber Planning Commission recommended the R112 zone to you guys. So as you look at what could possibly be done today in this meeting, you can approve the rezone just to the R112. You've got an ordinance in your packet ready to be executed if you're ready for that, and we can get those maps changed pretty quickly. You could deny the rezone. When you're looking at approval and denial, it's just a question of health, safety, and welfare. There's a lot of wide discretion on what your findings can be for either of those. Or if you're not comfortable making a decision today, you can table it and give either myself or our applicant further instructions on how to modify things. The applicant is here in the room, probably would like to say a word or two. And this item is for a public hearing as well, so I'm sure there's others who would like to speak to it.
Thank you. Before we hear from the applicant, any questions for Charlie? All right. If Mr. Moore or one of his representatives here would welcome to address the commission.
Commissioners, good morning. Randy Moore. The way your agenda is going, I was expecting a contract and some money, but I'm not sure that's going to happen.
We'll accept that. Most of them, as you know, were sponsorships, and so and they were at least 100,000. Thank you for your generosity today.
You bet. I will say, if Ivory Home gave you some trees, we'll find some trees somewhere if it's needed.
Go.
So thank you. Thank you. It's amazing to sit here and listen. There's amazing things happening in Weber County. And I commend you for the things you are doing. I mean, the youth programs, things that I'm not aware of and would love to come and enjoy. It looks very exciting. Commissioners, as you're aware, this application came a number of months ago. I think there was some misconceptions as to the application at that time. The R110 zone is what we requested based on zoning that was granted on some property that was nearby. That was denied by the commission for different reasons. Let's leave it at that. Honestly, after looking at this application and the zoning that is available for this particular property, it's an RE15 now. We applied for the R110. After looking at it, we had not really looked at this R112 zone. And the difference really is a 10,000 square foot lot in the R110 as opposed to the 12,000 square foot here. It also changes the width of the lots. In the R110, the minimum lot width would have been 80 at a minimum. This particular property, we're dealing with the width of the property, and the lots are really quite deep under either scenario. But after changing and looking to the R112 zone, we actually are more in favor. If I really was to look at it again, I would probably almost look at the 12 over the 10. It would widen these lots and give us a 90-foot width on these lots.
So you're telling me that Commissioner Harvey was right and I was wrong?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know about that.
You notice there's a glow.
We're going to find out.
Over there.
We're going to find out. We'll find out. But Commissioner Harvey had a couple of concerns. One of them was the snowplow driver and the width of the lots. So we've addressed that.
There you go.
Commissioner Harvey also had a concern that you were possibly going against what the Planning Commission recommendation was, and we've addressed that. And the Planning Commission has voted in favor and approved our application. So we would certainly ask that you also support the Planning Commission and support this application. There's been a misconception as to the quality or the size of the type of homes that I think are going to be built here. We've heard in some cases that these would be a smaller home, or I don't know what term you want to use. These will be far from that. We anticipate that the lots are going to be in the $200,000 price range for lots, and the homes are going to be in the $550,000 to $700,000 price range. These will be very nice custom homes that will be in that price range. There's no way economically to do anything different than that with the size of these lots. There's been a concern as to the size of the lots. We did an analysis of the surrounding area. I have these. I'm welcome to give them to you, but who knows with the virus and everything that's going on. But we did an analysis, not just really of the surrounding adjacent homes, but the whole area, all the way over to the elementary school. And in this R112 zone, we are requesting, we would be looking at what our conceptual plan is that staff had shown. 12 lots is what we anticipate will be on the property. It's not going to be a higher density. It's not possible under that. Thank you. And it's 12 lots. Our lots, if you average all the lots, average 0.33 acre, 1/3 acre lots on average. Some of the lots are as large as 16 to 20,000 square feet. In the R112 zone, the smallest possible lot is a 12,000 square foot lot. But if you take the lots and you average them with the cul-de-sac, they're a 1/3 acre lot. If we take all the adjacent subdivision and surrounding homes, those homes average 0.36 acres. So this is very much in harmony with the existing lot sizes. It would fit right into the area, and the lot sizes are very large, 1/3 acre. There was some talk about possibly stubbing this road out or connecting to the adjacent property to the east. We would not want to see that. The adjacent landowners would not want to see that. We don't see the need for that. In many cases in developments that I've been involved in, we've had a stub road. If you have an adjacent parcel of land that's a large parcel and there's no access to that property, you need to get access to that property, we stub a road into it. If you look at the surrounding area here, there is a road just to the north that would come around, connect for that access. There's also 2 other streets. It's very easy to get from the west end of our property to the east end of the property with the existing roads that are there. We don't see the need to continue that. The county ordinance is specific about stub roads and specifies the arrangement of streets in new subdivisions shall make provision for the continuation of the existing streets to adjoining areas insofar as such may be deemed necessary by the Planning Commission for public requirements. The street arrangement must be such as to cause no unnecessary hardship to the owners of the adjoining property when they plat their own land and seek to provide for convenient access to it. The adjoining landowners have talked to us and they see it as a hardship to continue that road. We don't see the need to continue the road also. We don't see the public requirement of that. The access is already there. So we would request that this remain as a cul-de-sac. We would request that that not be continued. We don't see the need for that to continue. So we just don't see the need for that. There was some talk about possibly turning this intersection or changing the road into an intersection, changing the configuration into a 4-way stop there. That there was a fair amount of traffic on the existing road. And we don't see the need for that intersection either. You know, it's interesting, after our meeting we had some time ago, I went and have kind of just on my own observation looked at the traffic on the existing road. And I'm sure it changes when the school's in session and when the school's there, but the traffic that's on the existing road, from what I can see, is very low. I went there on 3 different dates. I'm not a traffic engineer, but I went on 3 different times, and it was interesting. The first time I was there for 35 minutes. 14 cars went by in 35 minutes. Another time I went, I was there 30 minutes. 9 cars went by. Just last Wednesday I went. I was there 40 minutes. 14 cars went by. There was an 8-minute period that not 1 car went by. And so we don't see the need. I don't know how much of a desire there is to reconfigure to affect what would be 4 or 5 existing yards, to reconfigure that intersection. If there's a need to slow the traffic down or stop the traffic, I think you could accomplish the exact same thing by just putting 2 stop signs there. That would have the exact same effect of a 4-way intersection with 4 stop signs. You could just put 2 stop signs there, traffic would come, would stop. So I don't know how much of a basis that is, but we don't see the need for the road to continue. We also would like to keep the configuration as it is. I will say Commissioner Harvey was correct. I talked to my engineer, and the property does go to the east. So it does. We're not to that point of designing the subdivision, but he did say that it slopes to the east. And I talked to my engineer, Ensign Engineering. I said, "What are you guys looking at here?" And he says, "Yeah, my gosh, it does. It does go the other direction." So when we get to engineering it, there's not going to be any issue of dealing with it going the one direction or the other. So we would ask that you approve the R112 zone, our request. I would also ask if it's possible to approve based on the road design, the conceptual road design that we have submitted. We would ask that you approve the R112 zone request based on the conceptual road design of it being a cul-de-sac. We would request that you approve that. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer, and hope to have an opportunity if there's any questions that residents have.
Good, thank you. Commissioners, questions for Mr. Moore? We go to the public.
Where's my mask?
None for you, Mr. Moore, but thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. We may have you come up if there are individual public comments. So with that, we'll go to anybody else in the public that would like to address on this issue. If you'd please just state your name and your city. We don't need your address, but if you just give your city, and hopefully try to keep your remarks 3 minutes render. So please come up.
Welcome, Commissioner. I would like to know if each of you has visited this piece of property that Mr. Moore is attempting to build on. Commissioner Jenkins?
I've not only been there, I've walked it from front to back and side to side.
Thank you.
I think we all have on more than one occasion.
Absolutely.
Mr. Moore indicated he had been at that property on Wednesday. I live adjacent to that property, so of course you know my discern with the change of venue there. That is not the biggest fear I have. Mr. Moore purchased that property. It is his. He paid, I suppose, legal money for it. But I don't see as to why we should make him a multi-millionaire by building as many homes as he designed to do so. That also is not one of my deepest concerns. My deepest concern is the fact that Mr. Moore came to the property. It is completely surrounded by fence. He locked the gate and drove away. Oh, he shut the water off. So naturally, that piece of property has dried. Everything is dying. Weeds are over a foot high. And we had one fire in our area, and I certainly pray we don't have another. Thank you for your concern.
Ma'am, would you please give us your name and
My
your
name is Barbara Lindley.
Okay.
I have lived adjacent to that property for 25 years, and my home is very nice.
Thank you for your remarks. Thank you. Anybody else who would like to come forward?
Commissioners, we have a couple on Zoom.
Can you read those to us, the comments?
I believe that some of them would like to talk. I have STH. Would you like to comment?
Yes, hi. This is Stephen Handley, and I live at 6199 South, 2225 East. And I'd like to thank everybody for properly announcing this meeting. The last one wasn't very well, I think, attended because there was some confusion about meetings, so thank you for doing this one properly. I think this boils down to money. I'm curious to know how much more money Mr. Moore will make by squeezing in this one extra house. He's been here. He stated himself he's been to the property 3 times. Well, my family has been next to this property for 4 decades. And so I feel like we are, by allowing him to squeeze this extra house, we're making this one company richer instead of spreading the wealth. If he were to have larger lots, bigger, more valuable houses, then the wealth, the increased equity would be spread across the community. So why are we investing in this one corporation instead of the neighbors? He doesn't care about this neighborhood. He's going to build these houses and go. When the pandemic started and people were locked in their houses, that's right when he locked the gates. People enjoyed that as a dog park for months. And at a critical time for this community, he chose to lock off this land. And people missed it. It was really, really sad. So he doesn't care about this neighborhood. He cares about making his money and leaving. And I feel like it's the obligation of our elected officials to invest in this neighborhood and not in this company. And I can see rewarding a developer if they were doing something innovative, something, based in sustainability. But this is not anything innovative and doesn't deserve any sort of special zoning. He bought this land knowing what the rules were. And it's not our responsibility to help protect his bottom line when he hasn't cared about this community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom that would like to comment? Let's hear it now.
We have Colton on Zoom. Go ahead, Colton.
Go ahead.
Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute there. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I'm the property owner adjacent to Mr. Moore that just bought this, and I just wanted to echo some of the comments. First, obviously, my greatest concern is this the road that was mentioned by Randy. I agree it is completely unnecessary. There's no point to it. Part of the code also seeks that the unnecessary hardship of those flat their own land. I gave you guys a copy of what I'd like to do down the road with my kids. By the own code, it's just there's no need for and as a property owner, knowing that they're going to build, I'd rather two butted up against property that have big buildable areas so they can build bigger, nicer homes than smaller, weird lots that that's of real life. I am all for a cul-de-sac. I think it will be put in an area. I think it was consistent with the area. There's cul-de-sacs all over. I took the liberty of talking to every single neighbor on 2375E, 400E, and a couple of cul-de-sacs attached to those. All of them are not only against stub road and keeping it, which is unnecessary to read the own code. We've spoken in the past in meetings. But they like the idea of a cul-de-sac to bump up the value of the areas. My thing from the beginning is that the homes are nice, well constructed, which Randy has said that he is doing. And if that is the case, and if the builders like enter to the they have a reason to do that. Commissioner, that's what I have. I have opened my area to a lot of farm animals. We do help with farm animals, help raise. That will continue. The dog park was a great community. There was definite drawbacks to the dog park. But I would like the area finished and nicely. And I believe that's all.
Thank you. Thank you for those remarks. Now, and let's come back to people in the chamber. If you please come forward. Mr. Nelson.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bruce Nelson. I live in the Uinta Highlands area. And I appreciate your what you're tackling today, because as Charlie has kind of laid out here, it makes sense on paper, but there are so many peculiar areas or peculiar things about this. First of all, there's hundreds of acres that surround this that are all zoned R15, and now we're talking about less than 5 acres. So why would we ever want to change that? What is the point to do that? When more builders bought this property, they knew it was zoned R15, and so that's what it ought to stay at. And the access, probably the overriding issue is the access. Typically in most cities, you have a cul-de-sac can only be so long. And the current access there with that cul-de-sac has got 15 homes on it, and it's huge. It's got a couple L's, and then it goes back in the back. And now we're going to add another cul-de-sac onto a cul-de-sac. I don't remember ever seeing anything like that. And then we're going to add more lots. Now, we're not talking a lot of lots. We're talking maybe 3 or 4 lots. But when you look at the aggregate problem, and one of the things we always talk about, Charlie talks about safety and welfare. By adding more lots to that cul-de-sac, that's not safe. There's nothing safe about that, because getting out on there and then seeing his design, which is it's over here now, but seeing that design, you can see how difficult that cul-de-sac is as it comes out, gets onto the other existing cul-de-sac for 20 or 30 feet, and then there's a stop sign, and then it's going to be a nightmare as it relates to it, but it is what it is, and there's going to be a cul-de-sac there. I recognize that. All I'm talking about is that why don't we, and why doesn't the county be safer, if you will, and allow what's already zoned and which has nothing to do with getting more lots with narrower frontage. The traffic congestion I talked about, when school is on, I know Mr. Moore was up there when school's not on. When school is on, that's a freeway. There's a lot of people at peak times. Peak times coming up there, which would be peak times of people coming out of the cul-de-sac, again, to take their kids potentially over to that same school. I look at this, and I know the county would disagree, or the planners would disagree, but this to me it's an infill piece. I don't disagree with that, the spot zone I'm going to talk about, but it's an infill piece. And typically what I've seen in my experience is that an infill piece like this, that's totally surrounded by this parcel, seldom is it ever rezoned. It's always zoned the same as what's around it. And so here we are with hundreds of lots again, flipping this thing, and we got a little speck. And so we're messing with one little speck to change everything. I know we've compared this a lot, or the planners have compared, and maybe you have too, compared the Uinta View subdivision that was on Eastwood Boulevard. First of all, that was a very short cul-de-sac. Second of all, it was access onto a boulevard, not a little street, not a little weird entrance. And so, a huge difference. Third of all, it's surrounded, instead of 15 property owners, it's surrounded by 8 property owners, 2 of which were the developers, and 1 is a bare field. And so it's totally different. And to compare that to this, just the ramifications of having a cul-de-sac dump into a cul-de-sac, to me, where does the county, win by that? We've talked about the issues of the fire access and the snowplow access. And I think, you go from an 80-foot lot, which we denied, again, that was unanimous by the Planning Commission and I believe you as commissioners. To go to a 90-foot is better, but to go to 100-foot, which is already there, is even more better as I look at it, because again, there's more access, there's more area for the snow plows to be able to dump their snow because you have a wider lot, and it kind of goes on and on and on. I think that's my biggest concern, commissioners, is that you would focus on the design of this, not just a street with another lots, but the access of a cul-de-sac into a cul-de-sac. To me, there's no benefit to the county whatsoever by having more lots. Fewer is better, and would minimize all sorts of issues. I know Mr. Moore talked about this 4-way stop. I think that's something you ought to really consider. And I think as we get involved with that, then that certainly ought to be important. I know Mr. Moore asked that when you do approve this, and hopefully you won't approve it, but that you approve the design of the road. Boy, I hope you don't do that. Boy, I'll tell you, first of all, I hope you don't. I hope you think about how the county can win as well as the builder. The builder bought the property knowing it was R15. He knew that he could get 9 or 10 lots there, and now he wants more. And it's not like it's a lot more, but every lot that we add to that just adds insult to what I would call injury. So I hope that you won't approve it, and I hope that whatever you approve, that you will not approve. We're not talking about a design of a road or a subdivision tonight. We're talking about zoning. And so I hope that zoning has nothing to do with road access. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Just for clarification, Charlie, so the request would be going from an RE15 to an RE12. How many additional lots? I've heard 1 and now I've heard 3.
It depends on the end surveying. It's more lots. I'm just not sure exactly how many more it can be. I know some of the conceptual numbers are a little bit higher than 12,000 square feet. And so is there a way to reconfigure it so that you can squeeze 1 or 2 more in there?
I think you can with 100-foot frontage. You're talking 9 lots.
Be a tough squeeze. Yeah, so it may be possible, it may not be possible. It kind of depends on what the development regulations are at the time he comes in to subdivide.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. All right, let's hear from anybody else in the public like to come forward.
If I may, I'd like to address the commission.
Yeah, please state your name and city.
It's Merle Lindley. And my address is almost exactly the same as the address that's on here. I'm at 6254, and I think this is at 6224 or something. We're very, very definitely neighbors. Now, the thing that has bothered and the thing that has been approached today, and in fact, the many times that this has been gone through, I would have thought that we would have beaten this dog to death by now. But we're still up here, and I notice that our group is much smaller now. Of course, the virus has come in, and it's a work day, and what all the aspects are, I don't know. But on our first meeting, there wasn't seating room left in this room, and we were the people that will be here at the conclusion of whatever you folks decide. And that is disturbing. Now, it's been mentioned today, the fire hazard. We had a fire in our area 2 years ago. It seemed like it was yesterday. And if you look at that lot and you say you've walked by there and addressed it, you can see that there is definitely a fire hazard there today. And if there's no water on that lot now, the water's been shut down. And if the fire people wanted to get through in there to put out a fire, they would have to do it from the street. They couldn't do it otherwise. It's very disturbing to us. It's been talked that there's a minuscule difference between the zonings, between the R15 and the R12 or the R10. If it's such a small difference, why are we so intent on changing it? It's been that way for many years. It's worked very well. The people that live there have endured it. And I can't understand why that for a minuscule difference that we're fighting this, not once, not twice, but 3 times that I know of, to get this thing rezoned. The land was purchased under a certain zoning. Why can't it stay at that zoning? We're very much opposed to it. The community is very much opposed to it. And I would hope that you folks that are making the decision-making people can see our point, because we're the ones that's going to have to live with it. And we're not looking forward to that. So that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Thank you. I don't believe so. Thank you for being with us. Anybody else would like to address the commission?
Hello, my name is Paul Creekard. I live in Neowena Highlands, just around the corner from this property. And I recommend denying the request to rezone to R112. The neighborhoods surrounding this land are zoned RE15, and these many homeowners have played by the rules, building on minimum 15,000 square foot lots. The developer who recently bought this land is requesting that the rules now be changed to allow smaller lots, minimum 12,000 square feet, in order to build a few new homes. This would create an island smack in the middle of a huge RE15 zone that's already been built up. The RE zone 15 lots also allow small farm animals, and many people in our neighborhood do have chickens and give it a real rural atmosphere, which the RE 112 would deny. You can't have small animals in that. Many other valid reasons have been given by our many neighbors here today. And the developer, he relies on the county plan for this area, which was created 50 years ago. This outdated plan recommends up to 8 dwellings per acre, which is clearly a fantasy. Currently, the area is all built in with at least third of an acre lots, which is slightly less than three homes per acre. I would hope that the commissioners would support their many constituents who oppose making this change instead of siding with the developer. Thank you.
Thank you for those remarks. Anyone else? Please come up now.
I'm Camille Borkland, and I live right by the park in South Ogden. At the last meeting, people were saying that if the zoning does not get approved, that we all expect to get the park back, and that's not the case. We know that the park is bought and that he's going to develop, but it's not about the park anymore. It's about our community and somebody coming into our community and changing it just because they have money. We tried as a community to save it, and it's just about the money, but this is the 3rd time I think that we've had this meeting, and he's heard our opinions multiple times on how we feel about it, and he keeps coming back with rezoning requests. So I hope you guys can see how much our community does care and don't allow the rezone. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good Good morning, Commissioners. I think it's still morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jeanette Borkland. I served on the Planning Commission. I was at the previous meeting where they, against my wishes, voted in favor of the R112 zoning. That was based on the community plan, which was adopted in 1970. When it was adopted in 1970, it would have been based on statistics, a 1960 census. When you're thinking the development that happened in the 60s was the little tract homes like Washington Terrace, little brick homes on little lots. That's what was expected to be built. Well, that's not what happened. When this was adopted, it was a master plan, not a general plan. The state didn't have regulations for counties and cities to follow a general plan at that time. So basically it sat on the shelf and the development happened at the RE15. And so one thing that Charlie did say is that implementing the rezoning should be based on two things. One is the plan, the other is the existing development in the area. The existing development in the area is RE15, and we request that to remain. I also am opposed to approving the road at this time. I think the rezoning, if you approve the rezoning, that's, we could live with it. But the whole subdivision plan needs to be considered carefully with the road part of the subdivision, not part of the rezoning. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate your past service. Anyone else? Okay, Charlie, I just had a couple questions for you, and we'll see if the other commissioners do. So just to be clear, my understanding is this came out of Planning Commission with a favorable recommendation for the rezone.
It did.
RE15 to RE12.
RE15 to R112, yes.
R112, okay. My next question is that you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation, the general plan called for this to be low density, and that you consider this proposal to be low density based upon the number of units or not?
Yes, so I misspoke regarding how what size of lot sizes low density is. The general plan from 1970 does mention that low density residential is about 8 units to the acre. It's 3 to 8 units to the acre, so 8's on the high side. That's essentially how it lays it out. That's how it defines what low density is.
So this would fall within that 3 to 8 per acre?
Yes.
Is my understanding. Is that correct?
That's right.
And then I wanted to talk to you a little bit, we talked about trends. 1970, I was around, and I was actually starting the real estate business at that point in time. So I understand the trend and what the mindset for housing was in the 70s. How do you think, from a county perspective, that's changed over the last 50 years?
I think the trends have been markedly different since it was at that time. One of the challenges when looking at a rezone like this is if we don't have a general plan that we can rely on from that has accurate and updated information, the sky's the limit on what should or could happen. One of the reasons why we took such painstaking analysis of the entire Uinta Highlands area is because we just didn't know exactly how those trends would play out in today's world.
So maybe after 50 years, it's time to look at a revisit to our general plan, or...
Agreed.
Yeah, okay, or a redo. Okay, commissioners, questions for Charlie before we... Mr. Moore, would you like to make a comment? Go ahead, come on up.
Commissioners, I've also had my hand raised for the Zoom calls. I'm not sure if there's other people on Zoom that wanted to speak, but I at least would like to.
Go ahead.
Oh, this is Julia Stevens, and I'm also in Ogden. My concern is that good if I continue? You hear me?
We can hear you. You're coming through.
Okay. My concern is that this property was purchased with the RE15 zoning, and he's attempted to change this multiple times. The surrounding area is zoned at 15, and then he's trying to change the whole, I guess, by including additional homes, it does change the layout of the surrounding area. So I'm trying to say, is that this creates a different precedent. So he's continued to reference the property over by UNT Elementary School and how that was rezoned. But as Mr. Nelson has brought up, that property is substantially different from this property here. And so if we do rezone this at a smaller homes, then you're creating a precedent in the future. So yes, this area was zoned, what started in the 1970s, we talked about that now, and how times are changing, but the surrounding properties have not changed, and the homes surrounding it are larger. And when Mr. Moore stated that the average home size is, or average lot size is 0.36, that probably includes the lot sizes, sorry, my dog. That probably includes the lot sizes right across from UNT Elementary School. And maybe in the requirements of who knows whatever areas include. I know the homes surrounding the area are zoned to the R17, or R15, excuse me. The traffic also is concerned as a mother of elementary age students in that area during the school hours and also during morning traffic and afternoon traffic. And then finally, Mr. Moore has stated on numerous occasions that, well, on a couple occasions, that this is a matter of a property taking by not allowing the rezoning, which is really not the case. He purchased the property at RE15 zoning, and he's trying to change that, knowing that it was zoned at 15. And this is not a taking by the county or the community. And also with dealing with that road size, it was stated before, and I'm not sure if it was at the zoning commissioners that, the planning, that stated that that road is too narrow. So I don't know if if he's trying to approve just the road location or the size of the road or whatever else, but I think everything needs to be looked at as a whole with that whole subdivision.
Does that conclude your remarks, Stevens?
That concludes my remarks, but there's someone else here that would like to speak.
Angela is on here and she'd like to speak as well.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm Jack Stevens. I live just above that property on the bench. I think the biggest thing that I'm concerned about with this whole thing is Commissioners Harvey, Fjord, Jenkins. I just hope you appreciate the fact that we all want you guys to represent us, and I haven't heard a single person support this developer. And by you guys supporting him, coming here, buying a property zoned to a certain thing, and make an exception for him against the entire community's protest, just as a slap in the face, I think, to our entire community. Commissioner Fjord, I understand that you live up in the Eden properties, beautiful properties. I was thinking about getting properties up there. And one of the reasons I was thinking about purchasing property up there is because I know it's such a pain in the butt to get things crammed in and zoned up there. And so I thought it was really protected. And I feel like everybody in this community feels the same way. We like our community to kind of stay protected. Commissioner Harvey, I know he grew up in the area, and he was the one who supported us because I think he has a good understanding of this community and the fact that what you guys are saying is no big deal to go from an R15 to an R12. Actually, it is. And it is a big deal to all of us. And so to make an exception for somebody who came in here with an understanding of what he was purchasing, with an expectation that we continue to allow to actually exist as something that should happen, I think is just you should not allow that precedent to be set, just as my wife was kind of alluding to. So that's my big concern here, is that I really want you guys just to listen to your community and the people that you're representing. Thank you.
Thank you for those remarks. Okay, Mr. Moore, we'll give you a couple minutes.
Hey, commissioners, I have one comment that they would like me to read in.
Go ahead.
Angela from Weber County, her concern is if we continue this pattern of allowing developers to rezone, the little remaining area left to be developed in the area, developers will assume they can rezone as well. The choice you make now affect the future as has happened for the area with the 2 rezones that took place prior.
Okay. All right, we're going to hold any more comments from Zoom. Go ahead, Mr. Moore. This will conclude our public hearing. Public comments, I should say.
Thank you. Honestly, I'm not even sure where to start. But, you know, we're saying this is setting a precedent. We just rezoned a property 2 years ago, R110. There's no precedent that ours is going R110. We've dropped the R110. So this is not setting a precedent. Yes, we purchased the property, but that does not circumvent our right as a landowner to rezone a property. It's not uncommon that every property that's purchased is going to remain in that zone forever and never change. Mr. Nielsen, I want to address some of his concerns. I'm very confused. He's saying that this project is completely different than the adjoining, that it's going to create a nightmare, that there's 12 more homes, the traffic is going to be a big problem, there's a cul-de-sac to a cul-de-sac, and that this property is completely different and somehow going to destroy the area. Well, the property that was zoned 2 blocks away 2 years ago was zoned R110, and who's building the homes there? Nielsen Homes. I don't understand that. If this zone is going to destroy the area, why is it not destroyed it there? We can request a rezone. This falls well within, there's been talk of the general plan. This property, if it was to go in the general plan, we could have as many as possibility of 32 units on this property. We're requesting 12. The road design, I spoke way back in February to the traffic engineer about this road design. There will be 12 lots, additional homes coming in from our development into the existing. To have a cul-de-sac or a street go into a cul-de-sac to a cul-de-sac, that's not uncommon. Many times I could find probably hundreds of situations in the county where you have a street come in and dead ends into 2 cul-de-sacs. It's not uncommon. The state fire code requires that you not exceed 30 homes on one access. We won't exceed that. So we'll be within that and we'll meet that. Traffic, let's talk about traffic. There's 12 homes that we will be adding. What would the traffic have been if the church was built? It would far exceed what these 12 homes would have been. So I would just request that the change be made. There was a question as to the number of lots. This zone from the R110 to the R112 would make a difference of 1 to 2 lots. Does that make a difference in how we develop it? Yes. Improvement costs are expensive. Housing costs are expensive. Land is very, very expensive. All of this ties in to the ability to to provide some housing at a slightly different price point than what it would be under the other. You know, really, if I look at the general plan and you take something that's interesting, I went back after our meeting before and I looked at Weber County from 1970 till today. The population has tripled. If you look at that general plan, where would you end up today? There's a belief that if the general plan was redone today, the density would go down. I think you would probably see it go up. I actually, with this property, what is very common in many other counties on the Wasatch Front, in many of these infill properties, is an empty nester, a smaller lot, patio home, whatever term you want to put on it, that would be a smaller lot, high quality, possibly gated community development. That's really something that I think would work very well on this property, but we're, you know, under the situation, can't even approach something like that. But I think that residents that want to stay in a particular area that have lived there for many years and maybe want to move to a one-level home. That's something that I think if you look at changing your general plan is something that probably the opportunity should be brought there and looked at in some of those areas. So we're requesting the 12 homes. We would request that you approve that rezone. We would request that you support the Planning Commission. Comment was made that no one has been in favor. I've talked to many residents that have been in favor. Mr. McSwain, that's adjacent to the east that owns the property, has been very much in favor. He's talked to me that he's talked to many neighbors that have been in favor. And so we would request that you grant the rezone, and we would hope that it remains as a cul-de-sac and that we could move ahead. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Final questions for Mr. Moore? See none, thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Thanks to members of the public, those who are on Zoom. We appreciate all your comments. With that, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn our public hearing and reconvene as a public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We're now out of public hearing. We're back into a public meeting. Action item on the public hearing, if you so desire, which would be to consider and or take action on a request to amend the Weber County zone map to rezone approximately 4.59 acres from RE15 to R112 at approximately 6224 South, 2225 East in Ogden. That's what's before us, commissioners. Comments, questions, or actions? Commissioner Harvey.
Commissioner, we've talked about this, and I want to bring up a couple of things that we've learned, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, I appreciate you approaching us, and you've been respectful for the most part. From my perspective, and living in the area my whole life, I understand you're trying to come out profitable on this. Commissioners, if you'd just hear me on this part. Charlie, would you pull up that map again, please, that you showed before? I've been on site on the property. I've been on site to Mr. McSwain's when the proposed road coming. Mr. McSwain on this map is on the right. He owns that property on the right. And if this road were to go through, would go through his property and then up to the other property. The petitioner is asking us to forgive that easement. He's also asking us to, and by forgiving the easement, he's able to get more lots. He's also asking us to change the density so we can get some higher density there. What are we getting in return? We're getting an intersection that I think is poorly designed, and if I'm a snowplow driver, I'd hate it. Going into a hairpin and a hairpin turn into a cul-de-sac. If I was under fire safety, I wouldn't like it, going into a hairpin and a hairpin. I think, though, I'm not opposed to the cul-de-sac. In the area, there are a number of cul-de-sacs. They make sense. For him to generate another potentially $400,000 in those lots, I think he should be able to maximize his investment. I don't have opposition to that, except for if he's going to maximize that, then the county will incur expenses one day down the road improving that intersection. As you look at that map, and I'd ask you to just consider that map again, you can see that 2225 lines up completely with the road that continues on. It doesn't affect 4 or 5 houses, as was stated. It affects 2. It affects Beth's, who's on you can't hardly see her corner. Well, there's maybe a little bit on that next lot coming down, and it affects Boyer on the other corner. So it could potentially affect 3. That way it would be a 4-way stop sign. It would be safer. The car count, not just during a summertime A random check during the day I don't think is accurate. It never is in any place. But I have concern about not just today, but I have concern about 20 years from now. This will always be a stop for those residents 30 feet apart from one another. Do I think there'll ever be stacking of cars? Not necessarily, but it's still an inconvenience. Let's do it right the first time so we don't have to do it again. If I were to compromise on this, I'm a no. I wouldn't make a recommendation on the plan. Charlie, you brought it to us. I'm gonna be a little hard here, but you brought it to us with that road going through, with a 50-year-old plan. I can get by with the road not going through. I can acquiesce one way, but if we're going to do it one, we ought to be able to get something in return, and that would be a 4-way intersection. But that's the only way I could support this. Otherwise, I'm a no. I'm with the people here out in that area, absolutely with the people who have commented here. There is one more thing I wanted to bring up about the other spot zoning that was taking place out there, Mr. Moore, is there was no opposition. There is a lot of opposition on yours. That's why you've brought it back and brought it back. You did not ask us to side with the Planning Commission the last time it was heard here. Now that it's in your favor, I understand you're playing, and I would do the same thing. You're being wise. Commissioners, in the last couple of weeks, we've had not been, I've been supporting the Planning Commission, but in this particular case, the Planning Commission has forwarded to us a recommendation that's exactly the opposite of what it was out in West Weber just a few weeks ago by going with some higher density. We need to do something on creating a new master plan because I don't think they are given the tools for a clear vision and making consistent recommendations to us. The recommendations within the last couple of weeks is exactly the opposite of what we're seeing here today with higher density. So that we can stay consistent with the density in another part of the county that we do here, so we stay consistent with the density that's all around that surrounding area, and we stay consistent as we've done so many times, and we support the residents in the area by supporting their wish. That would be my hope at the end of this day today out there. So I'm making a recommendation that this die, it fail, and that we move forward. Thank you.
So was that a motion or a recommendation?
I hope that this just fails and there's no motion, it just dies.
Okay, Commissioner Jenkins?
I don't quite understand what piece you're talking about in the west part of the county that you say is opposite of this.
They just did that motion 2 or 3 weeks. I don't remember. What was the last one that appeared on the, sorry, Charlie or Rick, do you remember the last thing that came before us from the Planning Commission? Sorry, I'll put the mic here. Which subdivision was that out west that we just heard? I don't remember the name of it.
I believe it was a subdivision that we talked about, open space.
Yeah.
Cluster subdivision.
That was Taylor Landing.
Taylor Landing, yeah, correct.
Well, boy, there's a big difference. To
sure
compare
is.
Those two.
I am comparing them.
Yeah, that's a huge comparison. That's a leap about from there to there.
Well, when you got my agility, you can make that leap pretty easily.
That's true.
Okay.
With that, I'd make a motion to approve what's been brought before us.
You have a motion to approve. I'm going to second that. Discussion, Commissioner Jenkins?
No, I don't think so. I think the points have been well made today by both parties. So if it becomes a little philosophical here, and with the prices going up the way they are, I think it's within reason to go from an R15 to an R12. That's why I make the motion.
Thank you. And I seconded that based upon the following premises. As I've looked at the facts, the general plan, even though it's 50 years old, and if you look at the trends, again, the trend is for higher density. But even with that, Charlie mentioned the low end of the recommendation for density in that area is 3 per acre. If you take the 12 homes right now as proposed, it works out to be about 2.66. If he was to receive the 3 which is the lowest end of the 3 to 8, that would give him 13, almost 14 lots. So I think the general plan makes sense. The trend obviously has to be considered in this day and age. I think very much as we look at housing, as we have the future in mind for our kids and grandkids. I also would obviously support the Planning Commission. Again, the residents that said they haven't had an opportunity to be representative, that's what the Planning Commission's for. They have the opportunity to present this. The Planning Commission came out with a favorable recommendation. In most cases, not in all cases. We put these people on to make decisions for their communities. These are the people that live closest to the issues at hand. And so at this point in time, I'm going to support their recommendation to approve. With that, I'm going to call for the vote, place the motion for approval of the RE15 to R112 zone. All those in favor?
Is this roll call?
Just
Okay. Aye.
go ahead and do a roll call on this.
An ordinance. This is ordinance 10.
Yeah.
So Commissioner Harvey?
Nay.
Okay. Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
And Chair Floor?
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you.
You know, commissioners, twice they said I was right. You're going to find out in a few years I was right here again. But it's all right. I've got a few more years to enjoy
We
that.
appreciate your passion on this, Commissioner. Okay, with that, let's go to Commissioner comments. I think we've all made a lot of comments today. So. Any comments, Commissioner Jenkins?
Oh.
Commissioner Harvey?
No.
Final motion.
To adjourn. So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you.